Welcome to the Levrige Show. This is Brett Ingram, and today I want to share with you the most important investment that you can make as an entrepreneur. So there are a lot of things that you can spend your time and spend your money on, and there's a lot of difficulty sometimes in knowing, where do I focus my time? What is most important as an entrepreneur, as a business owner? So priorities and where to allocate your scarce resources is always a big question. And so I'm going to turn that on its head a little bit, because I'm actually not talking about the specific budget that you have or what specific things that you should spend any money on. I'm actually thinking more along the lines of time. And I'm going to share with you that the most important investment that you can make as an entrepreneur is actually in getting to know yourself. Now, there are some very good reasons why this is important. And then there's a process that you can go through if you really aren't sure about this. But I want to share with you because from my own personal experience, I can tell you that, it's not so much about how successful you are externally. You can make a lot of money. You could be doing a lot of things that other people look at and say, wow, he or she must feel amazing. I mean, look at how successful they are. And you could be miserable. You can be absolutely miserable, because if what you're doing on a daily basis, regardless of how much it's making you, isn't fulfilling, if it isn't something that you feel empowered by and feel good about doing, all the money in the world honestly isn't going to help you. And I know it sounds cliche, and if you don't have a lot of money, you say, well, I'll worry about that stuff later. I get all of that. But I promise you, I've known very successful people in walks of life that have had lots of opportunities and chances. And by anybody else's standards, they would be considered, extremely successful. Ivy League schools, 6 and 7 figure incomes, all this other stuff. And it's amazing the number of people that I've spoken to in those walks of life that have said to me, you know what, if I had to do it all over again, I wouldn't do exactly what I've done. I would change what I did. And it sounds funny, it sounds ridiculous, because when you see what they've accomplished, but the reality of it is, it's not congruent with who they are. And so here are the reasons why this is so important. And then I'm going to share with you a little bit of how, in case you're not really sure where to go with this. When you are really in tune with who you are and what matters to you and all of those other kinds of things, you have total clarity and focus. And in today's economy and in today's, business world, the ability to have clarity and focus, in all honesty, is maybe half the battle. There are so many opportunities and distractions and different avenues that we can choose at any given time. Half of the battle is deciding, is choosing and having clarity and focus on what it is that we want to do and who it is that we want to be. Also, when you have that sense of clarity of who you are and what you want to be, it may be something that isn't popular to other people or isn't even desirable to other people. It doesn't matter. You're going to make fewer mistakes. You're going to make fewer missteps where then you have to go back and retrace your steps. When you're not congruent and you're not clear, you start doing things and then you realize, you know what? That isn't really what I want to do. That isn't really who I want to be. Or you find that things are more of a struggle because it's not exactly who you are and who you want to be in terms of what you're trying to do. And in building a business, this is everything, because your niche and your focus and your, maybe your passion is to sell, green buttons for garments, for clothing. And everybody else says that's totally ridiculous. And for whatever reason that fuels you, for whatever reason that speaks to who you are, the color green to you symbolizes peace, and you feel like when other people see it, it makes them feel calmer and happier about the world. It makes the world a better place. It doesn't have to be rational or logical. It just has to make sense to you. And so you will find a sense of congruence when you are who you are, doing what you want to do. And out of that congruence comes happiness, because when you are true to who you are, and again, I know it sounds touchy-feely, but the reality of it is, this is absolutely true, and I'll prove it to you in a minute. But when you have that congruency and you have that happiness, you're just much more likely to be successful anyway. You're going to resonate with like-minded people. So what's going to happen is the kinds of people that are in tune with your way of thinking and being and your mission and your vision and all of those other things are going to naturally be attracted to you. And the people that aren't are not. And maybe those are the people in your inner circle right now. Maybe the people that you're, interacting with on a daily basis that are telling you or convincing you or making you feel manipulated to be a certain way aren't really the people that need to be on your ship long term. That happens. And it's a tough adjustment, and it's a difficult realization to come to. But it's also the one that once you make it, you will find whoosh, you are like a straight arrow screaming toward the target, because you know who you are, you know what you want to be, you know what you want to create, and nothing's going to stop you. And so you're going to find people that will resonate with your vision and your mission. It's exactly the way I started this podcast. I said, you know what? I know what I want to do. I want to reach out to other entrepreneurs and business owners, and I want to create sort of this sense of community that, listen, we're in this together in a sense. Sometimes being an entrepreneur can be really lonely, and it's important to have sort of that encouraging, reassuring voice where you're not alone. And that's all I set out to do. I don't have this, laundry list of scripts. I get up each day and I think about, geez, what is a way that I can connect with people today? What challenges did I go through yesterday? What, seeds of doubt have I overcome or been struggling with? And those are the things that I want to talk about, because I know that if they are like that for me, they're like that for other people. And when I hit on those things, it will naturally resonate. I don't need to worry about who the audience is and go through all of this, extensive exercises about that stuff, because the right people will hear the message and it'll resonate, and that will create that sense of bond and community. And so the other thing about it is, when you are yourself and you're doing what you want to do, you will find that it's a faster, it's a more fun, and it's a more rewarding path to success. Again, you might be able to build an empire doing something you hate, and to everybody else you're going to look like a genius and a huge success, but inside you're not going to feel that way. And so when you are in congruence with who you are, it will be faster, there'll be fewer distractions, there'll be fewer side steps, it's going to be more fun, you're going to love the journey, and you're also going to feel much more rewarded for having done it, because in the end you're going to feel right about who you are and about what you're doing. So I want to shift gears for a minute, because I want to talk about how to do this in case this isn't intuitive to you. Look, I'll be straight with you. For me, all of these exercises that I've gone through, no matter what personal development thing I've listened to or management seminars, and I've been to them all. No matter what ones I've done or sat through or exercise I've tried to do, they never worked for me. I was always like, I don't get it. Everyone's like, oh, just, pick who you are and be who you want to be and what you want to do. And then boom, instantly you're like a rocket ship to the moon. And I could never figure it out. I'm always looking at the thing and I'm like, what do you mean write down all the stuff I like to do? And then, and some people sit there and in 15 minutes, they got it all figured out. And I'm the one thinking there's something wrong with me. I can't figure this stuff out. There's a lot of stuff I like. I look at the world from the perspective of possibility. So I'm like, geez, I could build a business here. I could do that. I like this. I'm doing that. It's really difficult sometimes to know what angle or what, niche or, whatever else that it is you want to do. But here's what I figured out. There are a few little shortcuts, and then at the end of the day, there's one universal truth, and I'll get to that in a minute. So how do you figure out who you are and what you want to be, so to speak? The number one thing is just to think. You need to spend time with no radio, no TV, no video game, no texting, no IM, no distractions. And this doesn't need to be hours a day. Even if it's shower time every day, that's fine. But you need to spend 15 minutes where your mind is not occupied or distracted by other crap, where it's just you and your thoughts, because that will help you sort of get down to the truth of who you are. That's one thing. Just make a habit of spending a little bit of alone time, quiet time, every single day. And in and of itself, that will help you sort of get to where you want to be, especially if you're thinking about these other questions. So one of the things you can ask yourself is, what would you do if you had absolutely no limits? You know what I mean? If there was no limit on what you could do, if you didn't need to worry about making an income and paying bills and pleasing other people and, providing employment or putting food on the table, forget all that stuff. You are in a bubble, and you're in this bubble all by yourself, and you're on the entire planet, and you have the choice to do absolutely anything that you want to do. 40 hours a week, what is it that you would want to do? That's one way to sort of figure it out. What would you want to stand for? Who would you want to be? What kind of things would you want to support? And what would you build if you had an opportunity to do that? Another question you can ask yourself is, what would you do even if you didn't get paid for it? Again, if you didn't have to pay bills, if you were independently wealthy, a suitcase full of money fell from the sky, and you had money that you could never spend your entire lifetime over. You can only lay on the beach and drink so many Mai Tais before you get bored with that. So what would you want to do? Who would you want to be? What would you want to stand for? If your whole life purpose wasn't about making money, then what else would you want to do? And who else would you want to be? What are you good at? Think about things that you're really good at, either stuff that you know intrinsically you're good at, or maybe other people have commented throughout your life how good you are at something. Because a lot of times, while it's not an absolute, that's going to give you hints to where your real strengths lie. What energizes you? This is a really big one, at least for me it is. I know when I'm in the zone, when I don't need to manufacture energy, when I could work for hours on end in total focus and it doesn't even affect me. I love to eat, right? And I get hungry and I get grumpy when I get hungry. When I'm in the zone, I don't even think about food. I look up and I'm like, wow, it's 2:00. I haven't eaten lunch yet. I got to go eat something. Now, look, no matter who you are or what you're doing, it isn't going to be like that 24/7 every day. But you'll know when you have these stretches of time where, your day is ending so fast, you're like, I wish there were more hours in the day. Honestly, some days I get to the end of Friday and I'm bummed that it's the weekend, in all honesty, because I have so much I want to do. And I know that now it's weekend time. It's not really work time. So you can have that if you're in the right place, doing the right thing, and you're feeling fulfilled. So what is it that energizes you? What is it that you would keep doing without needing to get paid, without needing to, pick yourself up off the carpet or out of the bed every day to get rolling with? And those are some questions that you can ask. And then there are a lot of other tools out there. There was a book written by one of the founders of Gallup, I think, called Now Discover Your Strengths. That was pretty good. There's the Kolbe Index, Kolbe, I think, that you can check out. There are all these tools to sort of find out who you are. Any of those things, if you want to invest in them, great. But at the end of the day, it's really just a soul-searching thing that you need to do yourself. But this is what I want to share with you right now. And this is really important because for me, this was my experience. I went through all of these programs and I went through all of these things where there were lots of exercises about learning and I could never figure it out. I always had so many things that I wanted to do and so many things that I thought were strengths or whatever. And I'm like, so I can't really narrow it down to one and then go with that. But this is what I realized. It can be hard. It can be hard to figure this stuff out. You're not defective if you sit down for 15 minutes and can't figure it out. You're normal. That's actually normal. If you're lucky enough to sit down for 15 minutes, hash this whole thing out, and boom, congratulations, because you're in the 1%. Everybody else, this is going to take time. It's hard. You got to actually think about stuff, and it can take time. And when I say time, I don't even mean days or weeks. This could take months. It could take years. So here's what I recommend. Get a notebook. Keep that notebook, and every time you think of things that sort of, just connect for you, write them in the notebook and start to keep not really a journal, but just sort of a notebook of ideas about stuff that you're really good at, stuff that you'd really love to do. And if you can't figure this out quickly, that's okay. You can even start your business and you can do what you think you're doing the right way and run with it. But in the background, always be working on who you are, what's really important to you, and who you want to be, and what things you want to stand for. Because once you get total clarity on that, all the rest of it becomes really easy. So it's a really important exercise. It's not something you need to sit down and do in one day, start to finish. Work at it. It's an evolutionary sort of process, and your own ideas may change. But it's really important that you spend some time trying to tap into who that is. Because when you do that, you'll find that everything else is more fun, it's faster, it's easier, it's more rewarding, it's less work. And ultimately, at the end of the day, it's going to make you feel great about who you are and what your place is in this world. As always, if you have any questions or comments, share them with me at levrigeshow.com or tweet them at #levrigeshow. And until next time, make it happen.